Hello. Sorry if there's like any background noise. There's like some kids playing basketball outside my window. And then my computer, then there's people stomping upstairs. And then my computer that I use to like put light on me, because I don't know, I just use my computer to like get light on my face. It's like super noisy. It's like very old. I'm grateful to have it because I got into this like financial aid program because like, I don't know, foster care benefits, I guess. And I got a free computer, but it's a used one. And it's pretty old. So it's a little noisy, but I'm still, better than no computer, definitely. I actually played like The Sims last night on it, which I haven't played The Sims in like, I only played it like once, like a year ago. I thought it'd be something I'd get really into because I used to love like character customized games. Like I would just for hours be at like the customize your character part, like especially with like Skyrim and like Fallout and games like that. Like that would be like my favorite part, just making the character. But for some reason I didn't like. The Sims was I don't know. It didn't stick with me as much. Maybe it was too open world for me. I was a little too indecisive. Plus, I hate how like fast the time would go in the game. Like every second is like a minute, which would just kind of stress me out because like the Sims wouldn't move super fast unless you like made them like you sped up the time, but it would still be like every second's a minute. Like so you would, I don't know. It's a video game. It's not supposed to make sense. But today was not terrible. Didn't have school. My hand, I was gonna say it was bleeding. It's not bleeding, but it hurts a lot. I was playing a lot of guitar today, and I was trying to learn Valerie by Amy Winehouse, which is not that difficult of a song. I mean, probably just depends like what version you're trying to learn. But it's a lot of bar chords, and I do bar chords, but I was playing that like all day, like hours for hours. So this finger hurts a lot. That's that just means I'm trying. I don't know. I always feel good when I play a lot of music, even though sometimes it can get repetitive. Especially like I'm trying to get down the intro to the Guns N' Roses version of Knocking on Heaven's Door, which I got. No, I got the intro down, but just like the whole song is finger picking, and I like was like rewinding it over and over just like try to play through the whole thing without messing up, and like it was so repetitive because I kept doing the first like couple lines so many times. So that was what my day was like. But overall, I'd still call that a good day. It feels weird not. I've only gone to school. It's only like the first week of college, but it already feels weird like not having school. It was like, what was I doing all summer without school? Which honestly, it was pretty much just playing guitar. But it feels so empty now. I actually like fell asleep. I almost fell asleep halfway through the day, which I never been a nap person. Sorry for the noise in the background, but I've never been a nap person. But because I just feel like napping always makes me more tired. Like I'd rather just go to sleep at night and kind of power through. But I stayed up till there's so much noise going on. I stayed up till like 3 a.m. playing The Sims for whatever reason. So I think that's why I almost fell asleep. So I did get myself a cup of coffee. But I don't know. This is like a little rangent, but I think there's so much like little stuff. Like because now that I'm like not in school today, obviously, and I was like thinking about like how did my summer go? There's so much like little stuff that wastes your time. I mean, I know like I don't know, we don't live to work. People say like cherish every or live in the moment. Cherish every second. I mean, I'm not against that definitely, but I think I prefer to like save the savoring for like moments that I am enjoying or that I find value in, and then try to speed through the other stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that like in a way like you could like use that reasoning to be like, oh, I'm not gonna shower because that's wasting my time, or I'm gonna like eat my food in 2 minutes because that's wasting my time to slow down and chew. But I'm just saying like the general like little stuff that we don't really need to do. And I mean, again, like that makes you happy. Do whatever makes you happy. But I just think for myself, I'm trying to like remember that and be like, I don't really have to check social media right now. Like I can just keep doing what I'm doing, or I don't really need to go get a cup of coffee. Well, today I actually was very tired, but I don't need to, figure out some excuse to stop what I'm doing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't have these like higher goals. Like that's one thing that kind of scares me about like older people. Not like scares me about like that. I don't find them scary, but I mean like there's tons of old people who have goals and are still working towards stuff. There's like a good amount of people who are older. I mean, yeah, they're like they deserve to relax. They've lived like a whole life, but like they don't really have any goals or anything. I don't know. I feel like it would just be weird living without goals. I mean, I kind of weird that strange, but like I don't know. I mean, I guess a lot of older people I know who are like grandparents, they like their goals are to watch after their family, take care of their grandchildren or something. But I don't know. I feel like I would always just need some sort of motive. Even if I was like super old, I would be like, I'm gonna binge watch all of this show or something. I don't know. I feel like I'd always have to keep something, or else I would just get really depressed. Which I mean, that's true. Lots of old people get depressed. that's sad. I mean, everyone gets depressed, but I think I'm not looking forward to, I mean, there is like a, obviously wisdom comes with age. You know, you get more smart, you get more knowledge collected, more experience, more wisdom. But I don't want to, I mean, I'm hoping I don't die young. I'm not wishing I die young, but I'm just saying I feel like it's going to be scary if I make it to that age where like you're physically not able to do much, like really old. Like, because honestly, I feel like so many people assume like they hear old, or at least maybe not everyone, but like people might, like younger people hear like 70 or like 80. And like honestly, like I know a lot of 70-year-old, 8-year-olds who are still like up and doing stuff. Like, that's not, like I've met like 90-year-olds older than that who like still drive and stuff. Like, as long as they're like with it, you know. I mean, obviously, if they had like some sort of brain condition or start getting sick or something, then yeah, you may not want them to be so independent. But you know, like a good chunk of old people aren't like in retirement homes. You know, they're still living their life. But I was trying to think like, because obviously I wasn't born with. I mean, when we're younger, I mean, I guess everyone's different. You know, some people when they're like 3, they're like, oh, I want to be a veterinarian, and then maybe that's their goal for the rest of their life. But at least when I was younger, I really didn't have many like goals like that. I mean, I guess, you know, goals are to have fun, be happy, but I didn't really set like a lot of short-term, long-term goals for myself, which makes sense. I was like, I don't think most little kids don't do that. They're kind of just focused on the present thing. But it's just like weird to think about that now. Like, I think I would go crazy if I didn't like set any goals for myself. I'm not saying that like in a way like just like genuinely, like I feel like I need, it's just good for me to like have things to work on, you know, not feel like every day is contributing to nothing, because that's kind of what it is when you're younger. Which, I mean, I'm not saying little kids should have all this like worries. I'm just saying it's like I wouldn't be able to live with that now. I think that also like connects to like when I spent a lot of time in like shelters and hospitals and stuff where like I couldn't really do much. I would just feel so useless, and that's when I spent a lot of my time, because I would be like, you know, there for months. I'd be like in a hospital for months. I'd be like at a shelter for months without like a phone, with a lot of rules. Been at a group home before, which is definitely not something I would like wish for anyone. I think it definitely beats having nowhere to sleep. I'm like, those places should exist, but I mean, in an ideal world, they would be better. They would, you know, because I've been to like, there was like one shelter I went to that was actually like really nice. I mean, it was still not great. I've talked about this before. They were the ones who like kicked me out for like no reason. Like, not, I wasn't like not complying or anything, but they just said like, oh, you can't stay here anymore. And they dropped me off at work, and they didn't pick me up. They didn't tell me they were gonna come get me. That's like so cruel. I don't know. Like, all my stuff was still there. They dropped me off at work, which is like 30-minute drive away, so it's not like I could like walk back and get my stuff. Like, luckily I had somewhere to sleep that night. But I don't know, I've talked about that before. But besides like their ethics in that part, it was a nice shelter. Like, they were able to drive me to work. I was at other ones where like, you know, you couldn't, they didn't have rides or anything. They couldn't drive you to work. They wouldn't let you have like any phones or social media. You couldn't, you know, visit anyone. You just, you know, if you were in school, you'd go to school and then you'd come back for the rest of the day. That's what the group home I was at was for. I mean, that's what the group home I was at was like too. And again, like, it's not like the staff, you know, most people who work there aren't like, oh, I hate children, I want to make their life suck. I've heard so many worse stories from like friends or people I've met who've been in group homes and shelters who've gone through like so much worse stuff at those places than me. I've definitely like seen some shit, but I've never been like, I've met like girls my age who've, you know, spent a lot of time at group homes who've been like attacked, and they can be very violent depending on, you know, the group of kids there, which, you know, they're known for sometimes getting some more like behavioral kids who obviously are going through their own shit, but it doesn't make it easier for anyone. What was I even like initially trying to, oh, I was just saying, when I was like spending a lot of time at those places, I would just get like so depressed because I could make goals, but I couldn't really do much to work towards them. I mean, I guess like now I could be like, I mean, technically I could have been spending that time doing blah, blah, blah. But, you know, at the time it really didn't seem like there was much I could do. I didn't have like internet access. I couldn't, you know, that's one thing I do love about the internet. Not like to be nerdy, but you can really learn anything on the internet. Of course, there's like misinformation, but there's so much information. Like, you could definitely argue that like you don't need to spend so much money in college when you could like learn pretty much any degree or beyond that online on YouTube. I mean, obviously a lot of people go to college so they get the degree, so like they have the proof. I'm going to college right now, because it is like you do get hands-on experience depending on what you're doing. But if you're like trying to learn, I'm not saying you shouldn't go to college. I don't know if that's what you want to do. There's nothing like more to college than just learning. There's like experiences and stuff, but it's a lot of money. Mine's luckily paid for through financial aid. But like if you're going for, I don't know, just like learning history or something that's not hands-on, like you really can learn all of that online for free on YouTube. Again, not saying, you know, you won't get like the official degree if you just watch YouTube videos. You know, you might not be as respected. But I know I've heard a lot of like people who do computer science have learned, because I know that's like that. I mean, it's a competitive field, but it can be very high paying, and you know, a lot of people go to school. But there's also a lot of people who just self-teach themselves and then, become even better than people who just got degrees. Because you can kind of like what I was talking about, like cutting out the fat and like the unimportant stuff. Again, like I like school. I just started school. I was just talking about like in one of these other ones how much I'm actually enjoying school, even though it's only been a week. Things could turn, but I've always enjoyed school. But you really can like cut out a lot of the fat, and just like the stuff you don't really need to learn when you're teaching yourself online. Because you can be like, oh, I already know this. I can watch a different video, or just skip to the important parts. You don't have to like go over syllabuses and take classes that aren't relevant to your major or whatever. But what I was saying, I keep getting off point. I was saying when I was spending time at those group homes and hospitals, it was very depressing because I would feel like, oh, there's something I can really work on. So I would spend an obnoxious amount of time with just loose leaf paper, and I would write lists of just all the stuff I wanted to do. I'd be like, I want to go here, I want to visit here. These jobs seem cool if I could pick out like dream jobs. These clothes are clothes I want. I would just write lists of like everything I wanted to do, which sounds like depressing, but that's kind of how I would motivate myself at the time. And I feel like now I can, now I do have internet access. Now I am going to school. There's still like a lot of good amount of limitations being in foster care as far as like social aspects. Like I can't go, out with friends and stuff. But there still is like so much, not to like sound like obnoxious, like I'm so grateful, but I am like every day I am so grateful. Because I just remember, being in those like in those hospital rooms or in like a group home and just being so depressed, thinking like I can't wait till I'm 18. And then I'm still here and I still say all the time, I can't wait till I'm 18. But I definitely do prefer my life 1,000 times more than it was when I didn't have all this stuff. And I'm so glad I'm going to school. Because I'm really liking it. And I always thought, not always, but I kind of, initially my plan wasn't to go to college because it's expensive. But one of the pros of foster care, I guess, free college. So I thought it would be silly if I didn't take the opportunity. And plus I am doing a lot of audio video classes, which like I was saying, that's kind of like a hands-on thing. You can like learn that on YouTube too, definitely. You could still definitely, if you spend enough time, you could probably master it just by like watching a billion YouTube videos, but it definitely is like quicker and probably clicks faster with you if you learn hands-on and just kind of, gets you more experience. So that's what I'm thinking. I think I was saying this before, but I might actually, I'm only a week into school, but I might switch my major to media production. Because it's still, all in all, I wanted my school experience to be around journalism, whether that's writing journalism or like filming journalism or like music journalism, something around that music, writing, life sort of category. But I feel like I was just saying, I feel like it's more, you kind of get more out of doing a degree, in my opinion, that like is hands-on, like with writing. As far as that, obviously I'd still probably learn things in writing classes for a writing major, but it's a lot more stuff I could just find online for free. And then with like the audio production or video production, whatever the major is called, there's a lot more like hands-on stuff. And it's kind of more interesting. I feel like writing, I mean, I could definitely learn more about writing, but it's kind of stuff I feel like I could find online for free. Same with like business. So many people are taking business majors in my school. Like I think it's the most popular major. And I know it's definitely like a useful, like, business knowledge is useful. But I feel like I can't imagine like what would be in those classes you couldn't find online. And I know I was just saying, some people do it for the degrees because they want the piece of paper. But I'm just saying, I feel like that business is like something you could definitely like learn for free online on YouTube. I mean, you're probably gonna see a bunch of those like clickbaity like videos that are like how to get $1 million passive income by the end of the year. But there definitely is some, especially like there are YouTube videos of like, or YouTube channels, sorry, of like literal like professors at colleges who just make videos for fun. Like, I don't know if are they allowed to do that? Like, is that like, because then the school would be like losing money if people are just, I don't know. People do it. Or you can listen to anyone talk on YouTube. You can listen to me talk on YouTube. I listen to random people talk on YouTube. I love the internet. There's a lot of shit on the internet, but it just made our world so much huger, so much bigger. I can't imagine how like small the world must have felt like before the internet. I mean, I can't imagine it, but I know it would be so much different. I mean, the internet's definitely given me like a lot of FOMO and stuff that probably wouldn't have existed, or at least wouldn't have been so extreme if the internet didn't exist. Like I wouldn't be able to see all these people living lives that I'm like, oh my god, I want to live that exact life. I want to be that rich. I want to travel to all these places. But it definitely inspires you so much. Like I've said this before, there's probably so many like artists and like film creators, musicians, just creators in general who like wouldn't have existed or wouldn't have, shared or created their art that they're known for. So many movies that wouldn't have been made if we didn't have so much media and internet, 'cause that's how those people got inspired. I mean, obviously not all of them. There were movies before the internet. I'm just saying, a lot of modern stuff wouldn't have existed without people getting expired, people getting inspired on the internet. I don't know. Today was one of those days where I feel hopeful for life. I'm not always super hopeful, but just kind of thinking like, yeah, my life really is a lot better than it was at all those shelters. Like, I mean, like that can be overwhelming at the same time, though. Sometimes I do get kind of pissed at myself. I mean, I feel like I do kind of emulate a lot of, I don't know if emulate's the right word, give off a lot of like, I like to try to be as productive as possible, but I think that kind of comes from just having wasted so much time not being able to do stuff when I was in shelters and hospitals. Now I kind of feel like I have to use every second as best as I can. Not that I do, of course. Of course I still waste time doing stupid shit I shouldn't be doing, but I feel like I try to not do that as much as I can, even if that like sacrifices my own downtime. But honestly, like I can't even say it like cuts into my pleasures, because like I can't even enjoy like watching a TV show anymore, because I like in my head I'm like I would rather be working on something, whether it's music, writing, whatever my current project or goal is or classes are. Like that's why I love school and still love school, just because it's like a way for me to feel productive, which I know that's obvious. It's not always the healthiest mindset, but it does. I don't know. I like having homework assignments sometimes, not always. I mean, I'm not crazy, but I like having something where I can be like, okay, I'm not wasting my time because I have homework assignment I can do. But I feel like now that I started school, I can equally balance my time, if that makes sense. Like in the summer being like a week ago, music was kind of my main project, and it still is. I'm still trying to keep that in the center, even though school is going on. But it would be so easy for me to burn out and just be like, shit, like I'd be playing guitar till my fingers hurt too much, my voice would like hurt. I would just be like creatively brain dead, like art block it's called or whatever. And now I can kind of mix it up. I have like school to worry about too. So if I'm burnt out from music, school, burn out from school, music, other projects intertwined in there. So yeah, I was just saying like school can be shit and just take your money when you can learn online. But it definitely helps having, if you're not someone who can discipline yourself a lot, not like saying that like a mean way, but school definitely helps. It helps having like professors on you, like telling you this has to be done by this day, instead of you just like being like, oh, I'm watching this YouTube video about this subject and I don't really have to do an assignment. It definitely helps to kind of assign yourself shit, even though, you might not be like, I don't want to give myself homework. I don't want to, like, that would be silly. But no, genuinely, I would do that. That sounds like nerdy, but in the summer, I was, there's like this site called like edX, and there's plenty of them, just like free sites that have like college courses or just anything. I don't know. I like to learn. I feel useful that way, I think there's worse things I could do. There are worse things that I do, but that's one of my better things that I'm passionate about. Sometimes I like to think, or I mean, I don't like to think, but sometimes I think about, like, I wonder how much different my mindset would be if I didn't, spend all the time in like hospitals and shelters and stuff. And I mean, I'm not someone who believes in fate, like strictly or seriously, but I definitely do appreciate like the sentiment, like everything happens for a reason. Like, I mean, I just said I don't believe in like fate, like literally, but I definitely think we do. I think from every bad thing that happens, we do learn something, even if it doesn't equal out. I'm not saying like this person dying made your life better, but you still probably grew a little from that. You definitely experienced some things that will probably, help you in your future. Again, not saying that death was, not like valid. I'm not saying it should have happened, or I mean, it doesn't have to be a death, it can be anything. I'm not saying it's like worth it, like, but you still learn something either way. You're still going to be more prepared, or just more, I don't know, it's just experience. So I think, obviously if I could go back and change time, I would have spent 0 time at any shelters and any hospitals, but I'd probably be lazier if I didn't spend all that time there. And maybe that would equal out. Maybe me being lazy now, I still would have wasted less time than, all those months and year, like not doing anything besides just stuck in my own head. But, maybe I would have been a less interesting person. Maybe I would have, I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have been more interesting. Maybe because I spent all that time locked up, I missed out on so many experiences. Maybe I would have gone to more parties, made more friends, had other experiences to talk about. But I mean, just the cards were dealt. What we have is what we got. So I guess part of me is always going to be that like little girl stuck in group homes and shelters and hospitals. But every year, every hour, whatever, we're always adding more to our character. We're always adding more. You'll still always be who you used to be. That'll still always be like a chunk of you unless you like get your brain erased or something. But it doesn't mean you can't expand on that. You can always add to that character, that person who you used to be. We're still all those people we used to be, but I don't know. I'm still like I'm trying to like be super, I don't know, dramatic, but I just think that's accurate. We're always. I'm still 6-year-old me. I'm still 8-year-old me. I'm still 13-year-old me, but I'm also now 16-year-old me, and then hopefully soon I'll be 17-year-old me, 25-year-old me, 30-year-old me. Like there's still so much more to add to who we are. That's why like when I hear people say like they hate themselves and stuff, I'm not saying like devaluing that feeling, but I'm not saying that like a feeling isn't that's not what they're feeling. Like I'm not saying it's like an easy thing to feel, I'm sure. But we're always, changing, I mean it sounds like cliche or obvious, but you're always learning more. Even with all the shit you go through, you're gonna be more mindful about the next shit that happens to you. Like that's just how we evolve. I don't know, it just kinda makes sense. It's how we work. And that's like why I want to try to live as diverse of a life as I can. I think I always kind of visualize myself in a box, whether it's like shelter, I'm in a box here, foster care is the box, me being in this town, staying at this local community college is the box, but it's still like growing every time. And then when I'm 18, I'm sure I'm not going to be a billionaire. Money will be the box. There'll be other boxes, but ideally that box is always growing, and you're always, I don't know, I sound like I'm like trying to be super like life advice, but it's just how I think about things. But I want to live as many things, as many lives. I heard someone say or like describe it as like doing as many like side quests as possible. Like I love that. Like I love the idea. Like because I've met those people who they're like older now and they're like, oh yeah, I was a waitress when I was younger. I worked as a vet. They just have like so many little side stories you never would have assumed. Like you'll just be talking about like, oh yeah, I went to the ice rink, and they'll be like, oh, I used to be a professional ice skater. Like they just have the most random stories or random things they can relate to. Like I want to be not to like just to be relatable, but just to be, I don't know, as broad as I can, understand as much as I can. Obviously, I can't be Barbie. I can't live out every single life, but live out as many as I can. The good ones, ideally, ideally no more shitty ones. Of course, shit will always happen, but I think that's a good goal, good way to think about it. I can't imagine like saying I want to live in this town forever and only like do things that I've already done before, which there are people like that, people who find comfort in, I mean, I can't say I find like zero comfort in things being the same, but I've also said I have a bad addiction to change. I love change I mean, again, not everything. Like if I came in my room and someone like shaved my head, I would be like, that's not a good change. That's not what I wanted. But with most things, I really do like change, which can be good and bad. I think everything can really be good and bad. But yeah, like when I see people who like say like, oh, I was, doing this my whole life. I was, I don't know, like they just had one career, one family or something. I'm not saying like divorce is like good or encouraging that, but I'm saying, people can always switch up their life. And I always love when I see that, someone was unhappy with a marriage instead of just, sticking with it. Like, yeah, you still have so much time in your life to just be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna stick here. Like, no. If you realize you don't like your job and you're like in your 50s or 40s or whatever, like change it. Like if you can, I mean, understand, financial burdens and restraints and stuff, but I think happiness is more important. Your changing things is more important for me. I don't know. I'm probably gonna stop talking now. And I was gonna say play more guitar. I think my hand hurts a little too much. Maybe give it like an hour or something. It's still not too late. Maybe I'll try to FaceTime a friend or something. But all right. Good night, good morning. Thanks for listening. I don't even know if I should. I'm just talking to myself. If you're listening to this, hi. Hello.